Hello friends and welcome back to the channel where today I have a bunch of fights to showcase for you featuring my rank 3 Isophyne here. Now Isophyne is a champion that clicked with me almost immediately and I ranked her up pretty much right away after getting the dupe. I find her a ton of fun to play and don't discount how easy her kit is to understand and use because it makes her a lot more flexible when you start to add in like complicated defender kits and node combinations into a fight. So today I have a variety of fights to share with you. We're going to cover some basics, we'll cover some Alliance War fights, some questing, and then we're going to finish up with a few Battlegrounds matchups as well. So make sure you do stick around for those. Now last thing I want to mention is that I do have an Isophyne guide up on the channel. Would encourage you to check that out if you haven't already. I'm not going to go too deep into like her rotation, her mechanics and that. All of that is covered in the guide though. So again, check that out if you haven't already. And with that being said, let's jump right in. Alright, let's start off with a basic damage showcase, and one of the main criticisms of Isophyne that I've already been seeing is that her damage is really bad in matchups with few or no buffs. So I wanted to use Captain Marvel here as an example of how you might play a match like that. So in general what you want to do is you want to fire your special 1 when you're above 2 bars of power, and that's going to place 2 of those energy vulnerabilities on the opponent. And your basic attacks are energy damage, so these are going to empower your basic attacks as well as your special attacks later on. Now in non-buff matchups you want to stay around 4, maybe 6 of these energy vulns if the opponent is being cooperative before you go in for a big special 2 to end the fight, hopefully. So you see here Captain Marvel being pretty cooperative. We managed to get the special 2 off before the first 2 of those energy vulns expire, and that special 2 does a nice amount of damage. You can see our basic attacks are hitting very hard too. 13k medium crits, 10k light crits here. So again, no buffs to work with, but yet she finishes this fight in under a minute. So even without any buffs, still a decent amount of damage. Alright, let's move on to a more ideal matchup. This is a Serpent from the CCP test map. He has 1.2 million health, so probably the biggest Serpent available in the game right now. And you can see just how easily she handles this particular matchup. So all of our light attacks have a chance to nullify a buff, and right away in the first combo you saw that we were able to get rid of his power gain and that big fury buff that he gets, which is really important when it comes to his damage as a defender. So here we are baiting out the special 1 here, blocking that one, probably could have dexed out of it. And then we're going to take the same strategy that we did in the previous fight, building up our energy vulns by launching our special 1 when we're above 2 bars of power. And you want to do it above 2 bars of power because it guarantees you 2 energy vulns rather than 1. Now since this is a larger health pool, we're going to go ahead and launch the special 3 instead of using the special 2. And the special 3 is going to place a passive degen on the defender, and the potency of that degen is going to increase based on the number of energy vulns you had active. So I think we had 6 active there, so we're getting a very hefty amount of degen, ticking for about 6,000 damage per second here. And as long as we continue to stay aggressive, that degen is pretty much going to last for the rest of the fight. It is paused during our special attacks and his special attacks. So you'll see it's just going to keep ticking him away while we also continue to empower our basic attacks with more energy vulns and then build up to another big special 2 or 2. So while the degen is active, we get a bonus energy vuln from the special 1, so that allows us to ramp up those energy vulns a little bit faster, and again, getting back to our big special 2 here. So 6 energy vulns, fire off the special 2, and even without any crits, it does a lot of damage. Remember, this is a 1.2 million health opponent, so if you don't see huge chunks of his health bar disappearing, that's probably why. Fire off another special 2 right away. We do get a nice crit there on the last hit of that one. Our energy vulns still active. Our degen still ticking, just over halfway done. And we're firing off another special 2, and that ends the fight. That is 1.2 million health in under 2 minutes. Alright, let's move on to some Alliance War gameplay. We're going to go ahead and fight Serpent again here. This is Path 5A, Node 14 with Ebb and Flow Knockdown and Heavy Hitter. And this is only an Ascended Serpent, as you can see, so a little bit less dangerous than the previous fight, but still you're going to get a good idea of how she's going to function against him in war on a variety of nodes. Now, at the start of the fight here, we do manage to nullify his Fury on like the 9th or 10th hit, so now a lot of his damage is gone, and we can start to build up our energy vulns with our special 1. Now, one of the reasons she's so good for this node in particular is her Fractured Power Bar allows her to spam a lot of special attacks back to back. So the first one is going to turn off that Ebb and Flow knockdown node, and then from there you can start building up your damage with your basic attacks and subsequent special attacks. So I think I do let go of my block a little too quickly there, and I take a hit. That's definitely on me, but we're going to continue to build up those energy vulns. I think I do go for the max of 8 in this fight just because he's being very cooperative. And again, this is pretty much an ideal matchup for her, so I wanted to make sure I got all 8. Fire off that 4th special 1, and now we have the cap of 8 energy vulns. I do make a little bit of a mistake here because I don't knock him down to remove protection before firing off the special 2. We do get a nice crit there for 40k regardless, but you're going to see just how easily she jumps back up to another special 2 here. Just in one combo we have another special 2 available, and that's the Killing Blow. So you can see that she is really good, really safe, really easy to use against Serpent in this mode. Alright, sticking with Alliance War, we have a SERSI here on Path 6. This is Node 6 with Combat Deja Vu Prowess and Spiked Armor. Now, SERSI is an interesting matchup for Isophyne because her Glancing buff is actually going to turn off Isophyne's ability to nullify buffs. However, since she has access to rank 3 of the Mystic Dispersion Mastery just built into her kit, even if you don't explicitly have that mastery unlocked, you're still going to get a bunch of power as SERSI's buffs expire. Now, because the uptime of the Glancing buff is pretty constant in this fight, I decided to go for like 1 or 2 special ones just to get a couple of token energy vulns up, and then we're going to fire off a special 3 and kind of let the degen tick down SERSI the rest of the way here. So we are trying to wait until this Glancing buff goes off, bait out that special 1. I get super impatient, so we fire off 1 special 1, and then we go right to the special 3 here, and we're going to fire that off. And you're going to see the degen is going to tick, I think, for about 44 or 4,500 damage per second. And she's already half dead at this point. And again, this is only an Ascended SERSI, so not like a huge opponent. The special 3 itself does a huge amount of damage, and the degen basically just finishes her off as we sit and wait for it to do so. So again, multiple different avenues for you to deal damage with her across a variety of defenders. Alright, next up we have a rank 3 duped Maestro on Node 3. Nodes don't really matter here because he doesn't gain an armor up, and he does have that energy resist stat focus, so our damage might be gimped a little bit. Now in this particular fight, the goal here is to use Isophyne's special 1 to consistently nullify his Glancing buff. And when his Glancing buff is down, obviously he can't prevent your Nullify from triggering, which means her passive power gain that she gets when she has no buffs to nullify is still going to function. So, and you're going to see that here. I think I actually wait a little bit too long to start nullifying his buffs here. I really should be doing it right now to get rid of the Pierce and the Glancing. I really don't know why I wait so long. Because he ends up getting the 3rd buff, and then I sidestep into the special 1 here. That nullifies both buffs except for the Glancing. Then I go ahead and sidestep into another special 1. We've got 4 energy vulns here. The Glancing buff is down. We can get 1 combo in here, and you're going to see we go right into the Striker, and we're able to fire off a big special 2, which does a huge chunk of damage. 45k crit times 2, and a 60k crit on the final hit. And that does a huge chunk of his health in damage. Now at this point he's triggered his Enrage mode. We do have a bit of energy resistance from her ego passives, I believe, so we're not taking like an obscene amount of that cosmic radiation damage. Firing off more special 1s, we get a nice crit there, and then I go for the KO here with a combo into another special 1. So if I had been medium or big boosted in this fight, that special 2 probably would have left him within like a combo of being dead. So either way, rank 3 Maestro in about a minute and change, pretty good. Okay, couple of Alliance War fights left. This one is a Nova up on Node 47. This is Boss Island with the Missing in Action node, so a lot of falter in play here. It also has the Return Policy node, which means that whenever you nullify one of his buffs, he is going to gain a burst of power. So a little bit dangerous in this fight if you nullify too many buffs and potentially push him to his special 3. Now there are kind of 2 ways to play it here, and shout out to my guy Bitter Steel for pointing out the second way. Now the way that he proposed playing it is to start with the special 2, which places a Wither passive on the defender, and that's going to turn off the power gain from Return Policy for like 25-30 seconds. So you can definitely do that. I didn't think of that, truth be told, until he had mentioned it, so I just kind of play this straight up with a normal playstyle here. And we have a very cooperative Nova, as you can see. So he's not spending a lot of time dashing in and back. So not a lot of extra power gain to deal with here. We've managed to get all of our energy zones up. So now we're going to build up to a big special 2, bait out one more special 2 from him. A lot of specials to bait here with power efficiency in play. Fire off the special 2. That is a 70k non-crit on the last hit. And then we're able to finish him off with an ensuing combo. So that is a rank 3 Nova mini boss in about a minute and 4 or 5 seconds or so. Alright, last Alliance War fight I want to show you here is also on Boss Island. We have a Venom on Node 49 with Stunning Reflection and Polka Dot Power. Now, notably, Isophyne does not have access to any damage over time effects. However, her power gain both from the Nullify and from the Nullify triggering when there are no buffs available actually grants her plenty of power in order to use her special attacks in this fight here. So you basically just want to play this fight more or less like a stun immune fight, because obviously you don't want to be triggering Stunning Reflection here. And you're going to see her power jump up as she starts to nullify buffs off of Venom. And then once he is out of buffs and she triggers the Nullify, she's going to still trigger those little jumps of power here. So a little bit slower here. We're getting some really bad Nullify luck here. Fire off the special 1, which guarantees a Nullify, and now we're already back above 2 bars of power. You can see the power gain triggering additional times as he has no buffs. Firing off another special 1 here to get 4 energy zones. Again, already back up to 2 bars of power. We're going to go ahead and go for a third special 1 to place our 6th energy zones, and from here I think I'm going to wait till I get above 2 bars of power, and then I'm going to hit into his block with a basic attack, which is going to make our special 2 unblockable, and fire that right into his block, and that does another 60k non-crit on the last hit there. A good amount of damage, even though she doesn't have a very high crit rate. I think she's tuned around not critting. And then one more combo finishes him off. That's a rank 3 Venom mini boss on Polka Dot Power with no dot in like 75 seconds. Alright, we've talked a lot about some ideal matchups. Let's talk through a non-ideal matchup here. We have a Silver Centurion in Act 8. He only really has access to 1 buff, and that's his armor up. And on top of that, this lane has Occult immunity, which gives him pretty big uptime of Nullify immunity, which is going to limit Isophyne's ability to gain power. Now, when the Nullify immunity is on cooldown, we will have a small window of opportunity to nullify both his armor up and the Fury buffs from personal space. So we do kind of have to just take advantage of that when we get it. So we're pretty much going to play this the same way. And again, since this isn't a really buff-heavy matchup, I'm not going to try and hit the cap of 8 energy vulns. I think we're going to be happy with 4 or 6. I can't remember exactly which ones we go to. You can see here, if you've been kind of watching his side of the screen, that he has the Nullify immunity passive up about half the time in this fight. And so far, it hasn't really affected our ability to generate power by a large amount. It is definitely slowing us down a bit, but not enough where she is like completely hampered or even useless here. So we got our 6 energy Vuln up. Now we're going to go for a big special 2, fire that off, 40k, 40k, and a nice 93k crit at the end there. That was very satisfying. And we're going to combo into the striker, and then one more combo here, and we're going to block bait a combo or a heavy attack, and then combo into the special 1. And so that's a non-ideal matchup, still very, very effective regardless. Alright, next up we have a Hulkling. This is actually the same path as the Silver Centurion, and I included this fight because I wanted to show you just how silly her power gain can get in matchups with like a lot of buffs, and more importantly, how her fractured power bar lets her manage that insane power gain over the course of the fight. Because she has that ability to fire any special at any time that she has enough power for, if you get too much power in a fight like this where there are so many buffs expiring, it really doesn't matter to her because you can still choose to fire off your special 1, your special 2. You're not limited to the special 3 if you have too much power. And that's a problem with a lot of other mystics. If you gain too much power, then you're forced into a rotation that you maybe otherwise don't want to do. But with Isophyne, not really much of a problem here. Now, against Hulkling, you do have to be careful against his indestructible, because if you nullify it, he does gain that passive indestructible again. So you just kind of have to time your special attacks against him a little bit better. Got a nice special 2 off here. We are almost at the cap of our ego passives here, and I'm kind of hoping that the nullify doesn't trigger. It did there, so he did gain the indestructible passive, but as soon as it expires, we are ready to go to fire off another special 2. So hopefully you can kind of see what I was talking about a minute ago. Like, we're gaining so much power because I'm running rank 5 of the Mystic Dispersion Mastery, but we're not limited to only firing off those special 3s and getting our damage via the degen. We can still get off our special 1s, build up those energy vulns, and then fire off our special 2s as we need them. And that was a pretty satisfying fight, not going to lie. Alright, moving on, here's a fight from Act 9.1 against the champion with Footloose and Buff Toggle Unblockable. Now, I would describe Isophyne as a tempo attacker, and she really excels in fights where she controls the speed and rhythm of the fight. And in a fight like this with Footloose, that can really mess with her tempo because you can't counter the evade, you can't counter the unstoppable. However, those effects are actually buffs, so you can just parry and hit into him with a couple light attacks, hopefully sneak in a couple of nullifies and get your power gain that way. So even in fights where you can't just be super aggressive and go in spamming special after special attack, there are still matchups where you can kind of take advantage of what the nodes are giving you and still build up your energy vulns and your damage that way. So we're a few seconds into the fight, and despite him throwing a bunch of specials, getting that evade, getting that unstoppable, we have still managed to build up enough energy vulns, and we're going to go with the special 3 here because I think he has like almost 1,000,000 health, if I remember correctly. I forgot to mention it at the start of this fight here. So the degen is ticking for about 6,600 damage per second, and that's going to be a large part of our output for the rest of the fight here. We can actually just kind of bait specials out from him, and that's going to keep the degen paused for the rest of the fight here. So again, like multiple avenues of damage output, even in a fight where her tempo might be limited due to the nodes, she still has ways of getting damage off. And we don't have a ton of buffs to nullify other than, his occasional fury, and if we get lucky on the unstoppable and evade buffs, but, still a lot of decent damage output. Fire off that special 1, and down he goes. Alright, next up we have a Storm. This is from the same path. A few more buffs available than the champion does, despite her being a mutant and him being a cosmic. So we still have opportunities here to go ahead and nullify the evade and the unstoppable buffs. Plus we have additional opportunities to nullify her prowess buffs, which she'll gain as she throws specials and whenever we crit her. I think she gains prowesses as well. So ideally we should have access to more power gain in this matchup than we did in the previous one. And I included this one just because, most Mystic attackers, you think of them only as useful against Cosmic defenders with a lot of buffs, but there are plenty of other champions and nodes in this game where she can be useful here, and this is a really great example. Storm is a mutant champ, but she's a mutant champ that gains a lot of buffs, and thus is a really good matchup for Isophyne. So similar to the previous fight, we're going to go ahead and fire off the special 3, let the degen kind of do its damage here. I forgot to pay attention to how many energy vulns we had there. It looks like we ended up with 6. So again, a decent amount of damage there from the degen, roughly 6,000 damage per second there we're ticking for. Trying to sneak in a couple of nullifies there. Right there, I inadvertently triggered my striker, which I found to be a bit of a problem with her. I found myself accidentally hitting the striker button quite a bit here. The special 1 is guaranteed to nullify her prowess again, so we have a lot of extra access to power in this fight, which is really nice. Bait out that special 2, try and sneak in a couple of nullifies. We ended up nullifying both of those buffs there, and the special 2 is going to finish her off. So again, even in matchups where you might not think she'd be useful, definitely she will be. Alright, let's finish off the video with a few Battlegrounds matchups. This is the current season victory track meta with Mighty Charge and Dash Vuln and Counterpunch. Shout out to my guy B McG for doing a few friendlies with me. Now first off, we have a rank 3 Medusa. Medusa was recently buffed. Her auto block is actually much more of a threat than it was previously because she has access to additional Furies, but additional Furies means additional buffs for us to take advantage of, and she will never get enough in this fight to actually trigger her auto block between our nullify on the light attacks and the guaranteed nullify on our special 1 here. So we're just building up, again, all of our energy vulnerabilities, and she's almost dead already with just 6, so I feel pretty confident going ahead, comboing into the special 2, and that is a rank 3 Medusa down in about 40 seconds. And again, that's an ideal matchup, but in Battlegrounds, you kind of want to take advantage of those ideal matchups whenever and wherever you can. So, all right, moving on, we have a rank 2 GORR. So punching down here a little bit, but you're going to see her damage is so stupid in this fight that GORR could have been a rank 4 champion, and we still would have absolutely decimated him. So easy access to Nullify allows Isophyne to keep a lid on GORR's regen, which can be problematic in the wrong matchup here. And all the Mystic Dispersion that we're getting from nullifying all of his buffs is going to give us such easy access to repeated specials that we ramp up our damage incredibly quickly here. So we're a few seconds into the fight. We've already got 4 energy vulns up. We're going to punish this special 1, and that's going to give us another special 1 available here. Now we've built up to 6 energy vulns, and we're just going to go ahead and go for the kill here. But it wouldn't have taken us much more than a few seconds after that to go for another special 1 before finishing him off. So again, a really, really easy and safe fight for her. Alright, last Battlegrounds fight and last fight in this showcase is fittingly against SERPENT. We had a rank 3 SERPENT in Battlegrounds. Now, Isophyne, I would say, is not the fastest SERPENT counter, but I do think she's probably the easiest, just because she automatically turns off that death immunity at the end of the fight, which in most other matchups is going to extend the fight by another, few seconds or whatever here. So we're going to play this matchup pretty much the same way we played the other 2 SERPENT fights that I talked about in this video, building up our energy vulns with the special 1. I think I get super impatient here and fire off our special 2 with only 4, and it doesn't end up killing him, so we do kind of have to follow up after that. This is about a 60-second fight. We finished with about 93+% health. So again, a very safe counter, very easy counter. And in the vast majority of matchups, this is going to be more than enough to win you a fight against him. Obviously, if you're up in the the sweaty celestial ranks, you're probably not going to be using Isophyne for a SERPENT. But for all of us peasants in the victory track and the lower ranks of GC, this score is going to be more than enough to win you a fight against a SERPENT. That's going to do it for this showcase, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Really curious where Isophyne is going to land when it comes around to rebalancing for her. Now, I think there is a strong argument that she will be left as is, but it really comes down to where she was kind of intended to shine the most. And to me, it seems clear that she was probably designed for medium-sized health pools like you see in War and Questing. And that's probably why I took so quickly to her, because she is going to be good for the modes that I enjoy the most. Now, that being said, I do think that there is some opportunity for value adjustments if they so choose. They could do something similar to North Star, tune her based on a cap of 6 energy vulns rather than 8. That would allow her to ramp faster in non-ideal matchups and in Battlegrounds. The energy vulns could also be made more potent. That would increase the damage on her basic attacks as well. They could also have their duration increased a bit. I do find it difficult in Battlegrounds matchups, even in ideal matchups where you want probably 6 or 8 of those energy vulns. It is difficult and very dependent on AI cooperation on you being able to get and keep 6 or 8 of those before you can end the fight with a special 2. So, there are some easy things I think in there if the balance team decides that adjustment is necessary, but we'll see where she lands when all is said and done. Anyways, that's enough yapping from me. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, you can help me out by hitting that like button, sharing it with your friends, sharing it with your alliance mates. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.